We're ready to
You were
start. Yeah.
Gotcha. Great. All right, I want to welcome everybody to our July Police Commission meeting. And I want you all to review the agenda. And I want to use this time to see if we have any public comment.
It does not look like it at this time.
Okay, we do not have any public comments, so let's review what we went over at the previous meeting. Okay. At our last meeting, we said goodbye to Commissioner Winbrock. And as of July 1st, we have a new commissioner, William Parham, who due to previous commitments will not be at this meeting, but we'll be welcoming him at our next meeting. Also, we went through the officer elections. I was reelected chair, and we have a new vice chair, Jensina Hawkins. And the next thing that we did was we reviewed the fiscal year 24-25 work plan. And we also began the police commission bylaws review and also a mission statement review. So we will next hit liaison reports, and I'm going to start off with Commissioner Lemons.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, so thank you, Chair. So only one bias crime was reported to the Human Rights Commission commission last month. But so it is open and assigned. It's starting to get to me a little bit that I just come here with case numbers and open and assigned. So I wanted to bring to the commission's attention that there's significant underreporting that is occurring right now. The Office of Equity Inclusion is working hard to rectify the situation, especially with outreach to other city programs that have their own internal reporting process, but have not reported to OECE in the past. Also, what's complicating things is now the DOJ is involved, so we are not keeping our own stats anymore. It goes to the DOJ and then they give it back to us. So I will keep you up to date on any progress that's made aware of on that. And then because I was made aware that I'm allowed to hop into commissioner comments for a little bit, so I got three things real quickly. So the internal affairs case that we saw kind of disturbs me, especially after the lengthy policy discussions that we had about impact weapons. To my knowledge, a flashlight is not an approved impact weapon under our current policy. So I do not understand why this case was deemed adjudicated as within policy. Secondly, I noticed, let alone many of my consumers have noticed, that there's a permanent installation of a camera downtown on a light street. I fully expect there to be more. I'm glad that we made technology as part of our work plan. But I would very much like to know why we were not informed of this and what the capabilities of this technology are. I'm very scared that we would end up somewhere close to communist China, and I just want to make sure no facial recognition or anything involved with that. So the two downer parts of mine, but I did have a very big highlight. I got to go with Vice Chair Hawkins and meet the people with the Trauma Intervention Project, also known as TIP. And they are an amazing resource that just popped into this community. And I think it would be really important for us to have them here to explain what they're doing and how we can help. So, thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. And before I should have brought this up before you, but before I go to my next liaison report, we have a minutes recorder, and her name is Trinae Ryan, and we'd like to welcome her. And this takes a burden, a strong burden off of Holly, and it also gives us a tool that we can go back and look at all the information that we're doing, we have a person who they are primarily just concerned with taking out the minutes and so forth. So she is a great help to us, and I will next go to Commissioner Lehman.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. Just before I lose the thought, Commissioner Lemons, thank you for pointing out the camera. I think I saw a second one somewhere perhaps, but I would be interested as well to know if facial recognition is in play. And so I would join you in requesting a little bit of a report or something, just if we can get an answer. I don't expect it tonight or anything, but and then the police auditor has been appearing before the council. She delivered her annual report for 2022. She delivered it to the CRB at its last meeting, and typically I think the auditor does come before the police commission and share the annual report. Numbers are difficult to share with you because oftentimes a lot of allegations come out of individual complaints. There might be 10 things from one incident. But the number of complaints by year held, we were 339 in 21 and 335 in 22, and that was down from 407 in 20. And then on our work plan is an examination of discipline, and I appreciate that because the CRB has no interest or purview in that topic, but the auditor tips the hand. It's the one glimpse we get into it is this annual report. It's online. I suggest or urge you all to take a look at it. It's very critical to the mission of the police commission, I believe, the mission statement and what the auditor does. And there, just as a reporting fact, it appears there were no suspensions or terminations in 2022, and there were a lot of written discipline counseling. And it's hard to match up. We never know. It's hard. The other thing is cases hit the auditor. Sometimes a 21 case will hit the auditor in 22, or will examine something and it won't. So it's difficult to keep track, but I think it's important that commissioners pay attention to the discipline process, and I appreciate everyone listening, and that is the liaison report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Booker has his hand up.
Yeah, I do have a question about that report. Is there a way that we can get emailed that report?
Okay, so on September 14th, write this date down, September 14th, 2023, the police auditor does their annual report.
As well as our internal affairs office will be coming. I don't know if you recall last year, but they will come and both present their annual reports to us. That will be at our next meeting in September. And just a reminder, in August, we don't meet. That's our vacation month. So you have the month off in August, but we will reconvene on September 14th.
So this particular report that you're talking about, Mr. Lehman, doesn't come out till September?
No, it is online. I'm looking at it. I just Googled Eugene Police Auditor 2022, but it's on the Eugene Archive site. And if I can get a PDF, if I can make it PDF, I will email you one, Commissioner Booker. So
yes, please, please do, because I think this will help us to understand where our policy focus areas need to be.
And any questions you might have, that will be on our docket on September 14th. So we're going to be going over that, and then everyone's welcome to review it on their own.
Sure, Bugs, when you say policy questions, what sort of policy? Because I feel that policies is in our purview.
As far as what?
Well, are we bringing policy questions to the auditor?
No. What I'm saying is the auditor will be doing her report on that day. Any questions you have, obviously we haven't even heard the report. So it's gonna be kind of hard to have questions until we hear her report, but after we hear it, we go from there.
and you do have the opportunity to read it now before she comes if you want to.
Yeah, that would make more sense. That's why I asked, can we get the report sent to us? Because it don't make any sense to hear what she has to say if we haven't even reviewed it. So I was saying, like, it'll be good for us to have this report so we can review it before they come and speak. That way we have our questions in place rather than trying to do a follow-up afterwards.
Question, Commissioner Lehman, Can you send that? You said you read the PDF. Can you send that out to all the commissioners?
The answer is probably yes. I was just typing in the chat to ask if Holly would be willing just to send a link, because the city maintain, it's the simplest thing is to have Holly do that. So gratefully not asking her to do much ever, but I would ask her to do that. So thank you. Thanks. And I think it's great if everyone can read it before the auditor comes. She will have an informed audience. She will be happy, and we can have a really informed discussion. And we got 2 months to do it. So thank you.
Usually you put it in a packet.
Right,
Yeah.
I will add that to our packet as well as the internal affairs report, so you'll have time to review it before they come to speak.
Counselor Ye.
Yeah, I don't have anything particular to report from council related to the, I don't know.
You gonna hydrate a little bit?
Huh?
You gonna hydrate a little bit?
I worked in the sun and I am completely and utterly cramped out, so yes.
Understand.
You see me start doing yoga, it's because of that.
Right.
Chair Boggs,
You ready?
Chair Boggs, I do have a question.
I see your hand. You have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, going back to Commissioner Lemon's, he brought up a good point about the internal affairs case that was adjudicated. What is the point of, and this is not a slight to Commissioner Lemons, but what is the point of hearing the summary if we don't do anything around creating policy around this or discussing what policies particularly were broken or not followed through? Because we seem more like, I know we're an advisory committee, but where's the accountability in hearing this report?
Layla, and I saw your hand earlier. Can you want to take a shot at that? Leah?
Here we go.
There we go. Leah,
Yeah, hi, sorry, can you all hear me?
we can hear you now.
Okay.
You kind of tell them who you are and then kind of go from there.
Sure. So I am the independent police auditor and I'm home, not ready to be seen in public. So thanks for checking in. I raised my hand about the auditor's annual report issue, but and then I walked away for just a second until I heard my name. So is there a question that I'm missing? I apologize.
Commissioner Booker has a question.
Sure.
Yes, we were just read a follow-up on an internal affairs case that was basically ended in being adjudicated within policy. It was the use of a flashlight
Yeah.
on a handcuffed suspect.
Hmm.
All our policies speak against this. We don't have anything in our policies pertaining to this being a illegal use of force.
Hmm.
If we're just an advisory committee, what is the point of us hearing this particular report if all we do is advise?
No, that's a really good question. I mean, I think the sort of options available that I see are one, that's one I know we've discussed bringing forward to the CRB. If I recall correctly, there was disagreement on that adjudication recommendation, so that's one that I would typically ask the CRB to review. We don't have it on their calendar yet, so I can't tell you when that will happen, but I could let you know if that would be helpful.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, we have another hand up, Commissioner Shivers.
Yeah, sorry, my hand was still up, and then Leah stepped in, so I'm good.
No problem. We're going to continue on commissioner comments. So next is Commissioner Mogart.
Do you remember
Yes,
August report in September?
yes.
I don't have any comments. Good to see you.
Well, it's great to see you.
You too.
Okay, next we have Commissioner Shivers.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to say to thank everybody for doing the due diligence on all this bylaws stuff. I know it's been a few meetings and I'm happy to hopefully get it out of the way this meeting.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work you've done with that as well. Commissioner Nguyen?
Yeah, I don't know if our new Commissioner Parham is here or not, but I wanted to extend a warm welcome to Commissioner Parham. And then I also wanted to know, are we doing our summer outreach this year? I know that the Asian celebration is coming up on the 27th of this month, and then the Pride in the Park or Eugene Pride Fest, that's August 12th. And those are the two typical, outreach activities that we participated in, and we partner up with the auditor's office in doing that. So was wondering, are we continuing that outreach? And if so, I don't see it on the agenda. I don't recall us talking about it in our previous meeting.
I'll be going over that, some of the stuff that you're talking about.
Okay.
In my comments.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Booker.
Yes, nothing to report. The only thing I would like to basically get answers for is there a possibility to understand, is there an ordinance amendment that can be done? Because I read through the ordinance pertaining to this advisory or to this committee or commission. And again, it says we are an advisory committee. And I'm wondering, how do we get accountability added into that? It's just an example I use, I would like to use is the fact, like, for instance, the reports that aren't being done on the officers. Like there's no paper trail. So if they're supposed to be doing things that aren't being done, what do we do in terms of accountability? Are we just supposed to say, hey, advise the city that things aren't being done, and then that's it?
Commissioner Shivers.
Yeah, I thank you for the opportunity. I want to address this specifically because I share your frustration. And having served on this board for a while, I know Silver has been here even longer than I have, with the frustration where we have a suggestion and it feels like we don't have any real power to accomplish any of the things that we want to accomplish. And I don't have any magic bullets, but I want to say that the buzzword of transparency is something that people talk about all the time. And if we don't actually pay attention, transparency doesn't matter. So the biggest effect that I think we can have is by providing that transparency with eyes looking into these issues, by talking to city councilors. There is also the way where we can, as a commission, recommend to city council that they do change the ordinance. It's something we've done in the past, though not our own ordinance. But I just wanted to acknowledge your frustration. I don't think the way the network of accountability works will make that an easy or quick add. And I'd love to talk to you more about it as we go forward, especially as we talk about discipline coming up. In some ways we can use.
So is there a way to submit an ordinance amendment based from the commission? Or because it's kind of baffling that none of the city commissioners come to the meeting. So we don't even have a communication with them as to what.
We have two counselors.
Jenny is one. I don't know if Alan's on, but
Mr. Allen, are you a city commissioner?
Other Alan.
No, but we have Counselor Zelenka, who might not be here tonight, and Counselor Ye has been here faithfully. So yes, you do have city councilors attending.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh, Zelenka, that's right, Zelenka.
Yeah.
Okay. So would he be able to speak on this or no?
So, hey, Dr. Booker. So my name is Jennifer Ye. I think we've met. I'm one of the city councilors for Ward 4. And if there are suggestions that the commission has, and they would like to bring them forward as like the commission as a group agrees to something and votes on it, and the chair can bring it to the council, or I can bring it for him, it's been done before on other issues from both this commission and other commissions. So there's definitely a pathway for you to bring something forward. Changing the entire scope of the commission is a big ask, but that doesn't mean it couldn't get done. It's just, I just want everyone to recognize that would be a big task, and take some time, but you can, if you're all passionate about it and you can all agree on what you think needs to be changed, then absolutely you should bring it forward. That's one of your jobs.
Yeah, I do think it'll be good for us to discuss at some particular point. I just feel like this police commission is a feel-good commission. It's really not anything to hold anybody accountable. And a lot of the policies that we sit and discuss for hours, we don't even know if they're being followed. And obviously, when we get internal affairs cases where things that aren't in our bylaw or the policy that we've discussed aren't being followed, and then yet they're still being dropped and adjudicated, then what's the point of the police commission if there's no accountability? All we do is we talk about policy, but and then there's no strategic steps as to where that accountability lies. When we get people to come on here and give public opinion, where do we point them for accountability other than just hear them complain? And when one of our things in our bylaws is to represent that relationship between the police and the community.
I would say that the CRB is where we point them if they're looking for accountability. That's sort of where the network is. There is a fall, like a pitfall where the after effects aren't there's like a little bit of a gap. I think Alan has spoken to that before. He's got his hand up. I will see.
And one thing I just want to remind everyone, in the effort that we're all heard on, in a professional way, why don't we just try to make sure that unless I'm calling your hand, do we start commenting on anything? Or it becomes worse than what Dr. Booker said, then we're just sitting here talking on the corner. So why don't we begin now with Commissioner Lyman?
Thank you, Chair. No, thank you, Chair. And you're raising very valid points. I'm not meaning to undermine or push back. I just want to say CRB has tremendous transparency. And as Commissioner Shivers just said, it may fall short in what happens after, but they share completely all the information, and they come and present. And so there's a lot of transparency around the discipline process. And then I just want to say we just went through an intense policy debate that I pushed, and the police were very responsive, and we got updates, and the policy morphed, and they shared with us what the final policy is. And so that part of the process was, to me, very satisfactory. However, I do understand that, whether things are followed or not, that kind of accountability, separate issue. But I was pleased by the level of engagement that we got on policies. So thank you.
Commissioner Lemon?
Thank you, Chair.
Keep your hand up.
Yeah.
Lemon, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I just wanted to point out that when it comes to accountability, specifically over certain cases, it all lies within Chief Skinner's hands. It personally frustrates me, but that's how it's set up right now. Just want to point that out.
Commissioner Dominguez. Bonnie? Commissioner Dominguez?
Hi, sorry, having technical issues.
Problem.
I have no comment, but I am excited for after this break being a little bit more active, and that is all.
Thank you very much. So now, my comments to what you were speaking to, Commissioner Nguyen, the Black Cultural Festival update. So as far as one of the things that I am is one of the advisors to the Black Cultural Festival. The city of Eugene and Beatrice in the auditor's office are working together, and the goal is to do like a I would say piggyback sharing a booth. So we'll be represented at the Black Cultural Festival as far as sharing what we do and sharing what the auditor's office does. And what you can be doing now is more details will be coming to us in the email, because she hasn't gotten back to Holly yet with all the pertinent details. But if those of you who would like to participate, be thinking about that and maybe sending an email to Holly saying that you would love to participate in the Black Cultural Affairs. And I brought a little flyer for those who are here in office, and I'll get those to you. So I'm speaking on that.
Can I just interject real
Yes.
quick? Thank you, Chair Boggs. Just to let you all know, we are working with the city manager's office and the police auditor's office on getting booths at upcoming community events such as the Agent Celebration, the Black Cultural Festival, and perhaps Pride in the Park. So please know that I am working with other city managers' city staff to get that happening, and I will be in communication with you in advance if you're interested in participating in that. So please know that there are opportunities for the commission to actively participate and, have community outreach this summer and into the fall.
Great. On my list of things, on my comments, I want to thank Holly for all her hard work putting together in report form this 2-year report, and also highlighting what we've done in the past. We'll be meeting tomorrow, Holly, myself, and the vice chair at 10 o'clock in the morning here. And we'll be going over, what we will be presenting on the 19th to council. And that is the 19th at noon. And that will be also,
It's on Zoom.
it's going to be on Zoom as well.
And I can share that information with the commission if you're, wanting to watch that live. And again, this is going to be giving the council their FY23 annual report. And then we'll presenting our FY24-25 work plan that we worked so hard on at our offsite retreat, and hopefully get consent from council so we can start moving forward into our next biennial work plan.
Great. Next, I want to thank Commissioners Hawkins, Lemons, and Booker for your work with the Law Enforcement, Mental Health, and Wellness Subcommittee. And I know that a lot of this stuff is done on your own time, your own dime. And I just want you to hear it from myself that I see it, I know you're doing work. And sometimes it might be work that you think that's not being appreciated, but I guarantee you, the more we continue doing that type of work and the louder we are and the more connections that we make, that's how we make an impact. So thank you, commissioners, for what you're there.
Thank you, Chair.
And let's see here. We have an introduction. And if Jacob, if you could tell us a little bit about what your role is and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Jacob Erler Fitzgerald. I serve as second vice president on the Eugene Police Union Board, and I work as a 911 dispatcher at the dispatch center.
Well, welcome to our meeting.
Thank you for having me.
And then Michael Clues, do you have anything you'd like to bring to the commission?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, and next we have for commissioner comments, and then she can lead on after her comments on the Law Enforcement Mental Health Wellness Subcommittee update. Vice Chair Jensina Hawkins.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to welcome Jacob to the commission meetings. I've had the pleasure of working with Jacob for a few of the meetings regarding the law enforcement, mental health and wellness, and have found him to be communicative and very collaborative. So I'm looking forward to your participation in the commission meetings. The technology thing that came up, I have a question on that. I was looking in the notes. Holly, do you remember what priority, how we weighted that one on the work plan?
I do not.
I thumbed through all the
recall.
papers
Yeah.
sitting here in front of me and I
Yeah,
couldn't
I
find it.
don't have that readily available. I can get that to you.
I know that's something that keeps coming up over and over on our work retreat and in our meetings. And I'm wondering if this would be an opportunity to establish a subcommittee for that, because we talk a lot about we need to do something about it, but so far we haven't seen any action from the police commission. So I would like to put a motion on the table to establish a technology subcommittee. Is that how, Commissioner Shivers, is that how I do it?
Right.
Yeah, more or less. I would recommend somebody to lead it at the same time because that makes it a little bit easier.
Why don't we begin by this? Is anyone interested in leading that? versus me creating a subcommittee. And these are things, and one of the great things about now having done this chair thing 3 times in a row, it's easy to create a subcommittee. It ain't easy necessarily to have people who want to do the subcommittee work and the vital work you want to do. So although that might be important and we can bring it up, we need to know who, is there anyone in here who wants to do that work?
What's the focus and what's,
Yeah, what are we doing?
Okay, no, what are we wanting?
So things that came up during the work retreat, such as the new software that allows the online reporting of the crimes and the customer service bent of that particular software that the chief described to us. The big cameras downtown that Commissioner Lemons pointed out. Technology keeps coming up over and over in our meetings. And so I'd like to see action taken if we're going to keep discussing it.
What kind of action?
What kind of action?
My preference would be to see a committee that works to address these discussions that are having, so that when questions come up about cameras downtown or about online reporting, that there are a handful of commissioners who are well equipped to speak to the issue and perhaps address any other questions that the rest of the commission has.
That is number 10, emergent technologies, number 10 on your guys' proposed FY 24-25 work plan. And we do have virtual policing came in at number 1. That's the overview of the new software program. So if I recall correctly from our last meeting, there was discussion about merging these two, but then you guys decided to break them apart. So I'm just throwing this out there, but it might be helpful if we maybe discuss this at a meeting and find out, exactly what you guys are wanting to do. And then at that point, maybe suggest having a subcommittee. As Chair Boggs said, it is time consuming for people, outside of work and school and family life to meet outside of the police commission. And it is open to public, law as far as meetings and stuff like that. So just to keep that in mind.
You had your hand up.
Yeah, I actually was gonna say what Holly said, which was, it seems like it makes more sense to have the meeting first and then decide, do we need to do more, or are we good with what we have? Because we did divide those two up, so they'd be 2 separate meetings, and they're not really, they're related in a certain way, but they're very different in other ways.
Right.
So,
And
yeah.
one, like I said, the software program came in at number 1 on your guys' work plan, and the emergent technology did come in at 10. So
We have 2 hands up. I didn't see which one was first. You want to go take a shot at it, Dr. Booker?
Oh, yeah. I kind of agree with Holly. It's kind of like, doesn't make sense to have a committee before we kind of understand, because it seems like a lot of decisions about this technology is being made and implemented, and then we're playing catch up trying to figure out what it is and how its policy supposed to be written around it, which makes no sense to me. So somewhere somebody is approving the technology or whatever, be it cameras, be it whatever, somebody's approving it and then expecting us to come up with a committee to develop policy around it. That's the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse type of thing. So it makes no sense to have a committee yet. I would like to figure out where's the starting point for this type of any kind of technology to be approved. Where's the starting point for the approval? And we need to be speaking with them and have them here.
Right. And I want to say that I do not want to speak on behalf of the chief. So the chief is not here this evening. He's on vacation this evening. The deputy chief is on vacation. So I would hold those questions until we can address that with some folks from the Eugene police. Commissioner Shivers, your hand is up. And then Commissioner Mogart.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, so there are a few ways that where this technology starts. It usually starts within the police department, who then brings it to us and often asks our opinions before this technology goes forward. So cameras downtown is something that we've discussed in depth at this commission in previous years. Facial recognition technology is something that we have discussed and previous commissions have expressed an extreme amount of antipathy towards. Previous commissions didn't like the idea, and the department has not, to my knowledge, at any point pushed such technologies. I will also say that the part of the reason that this is on the work plan, and one of the reasons that I pushed for it to be on the work plan, is to provide a continual reminder to our chair and vice chair of this commission's interest in those issues, and to entrust our chair and vice chair to perhaps organize a meeting, like a specific meeting around emergent technology proposals, or simply bring those to the commission as they arise, rather than like having a specific idea beforehand. It's an aspirational goal setting element of the work plan, at least as I hope it to be.
Commissioner Mogart?
Yeah, a few things. So if the cameras don't have facial recognition now, they always can in the future. 1, 2, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. The thing's already out there. My concern would be permanent video cameras. And, regarding the whole like communist China. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that was a program that was only supposed to last for a year was the drone program. We never made another decision on that. And as far as I know, the drone program continues. So, it's a hard sell for me to want to do anything that involves cameras, for the same fear that Scott had recognized, but at the end of the day, the stuff's already out there. So yeah, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Mr. Shivers?
Yeah, the drone program is an excellent example as an emergent technology. It was brought to the commission. We approved it for a pilot project. And so after a year, the commission came back together and spent a meeting discussing it. It was kind of, we didn't see any problem at the time, so there wasn't much changes to it at that point, but fully acknowledge Silver's point that might not have been a rigorous enough second look. So we can keep that in mind for the future for such things going forward.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yeah, I was thinking, if information is what we wanted for our own curiosity or satisfaction, why don't you have the power, Mr. Chairman, to set up the agenda and to invite guest speakers and all. Why don't you could reach out to Chief Skinner and see if there's somebody he would delegate this to, someone who has been involved in this whole new technology that you guys are all describing. Why don't we just invite somebody to come and do a presentation for us? Because at the retreat, Chief Skinner wasn't able to give us a long spiel about what it is, and for us to ask a whole bunch of questions. I think this would be a good opportunity for us to get that set up, and then we can go from there. Then we can decide if it's worth.
Right. What you're asking can be done. Right this second, I do not know anyone in any emergent technologies that I know off the top of my head. I know a lot of folk in this town, but I don't know that. Anyone on the commission who might know of someone who would be a person. And here's the things that I believe what you're kind of alluding to is there's different technologies that are up, and you haven't even heard the pros and cons of the technologies prior to them being up. And then after they are up, we're being asked to do a subcommittee to talk about something that we might not have even suggested be. So I would need help from someone. And let me tell you right off the bat, I haven't heard anything about anyone wanting to be on the subcommittee, another subcommittee to do that. So I hear you loud and clear in your silence. We have that as one of our 10 priorities. We go kind of 1 through 10. By the time we get to that 10, I will, for someone on this committee and myself, and I will reach outside my network and see if we can find someone who can kind of give us both sides of this emergent technology.
Mr. Chairman, what I was getting
Is
at,
that what you're looking for?
not really, close, but not really. What I was
Okay, help me.
saying is, you know, we have Holly Matthews sitting right there next to you. She worked closely with Chief Skinner. You know, she could easily approach Chief on our behalf and on your behalf and say, you know, we want to invite somebody to come who you put in charge of this program, because, you know, somebody's got to be. I know that Kyle William was in charge of, I don't know if he still is, with the drone program. And so if he still is, he could be somebody we can invite to come and talk about the drone program if we want to hear about that and ask questions. So I'm pretty sure somebody else in charge of this, you know, this technology that we're thinking question of, invite somebody who is in charge of that program to come and talk to us. You know, I mean, right now to create a subcommittee, what do we, you know, just like everybody else was asking, you know, what are we going to work on? You know, are we just going to invite guest speakers? I mean, that could be done easily without having to have a group of people doing that. Yeah, I think that would be a good way to have a meeting, you know, a topic on a September meeting, you know, and then go from there. And if we're still not satisfied, we want to, you know, form a subcommittee to investigate and, you know, report back regularly for a period of time. Yeah, you know, then we can do that. That's just
it probably won't make the September meeting because we already have the September meeting kind of done. But what I'm saying is that what you said is 100%. So I'm hearing you. What I'm hearing from you is that your satisfaction would be having someone who's running the that's within the police department do a presentation on what they're doing, because they're already doing it.
So just to let everyone know, the police department has a technical advisory board. It's called TAB, and we have department members, our ISD folks, and I can speak with Chief Skinner. I think he would probably be the talking point to this, to come speak with you about this. But we do have, you know, department members that are on this board that, you know, look at these things as they come up and discuss them. And so I'm happy to invite a member from that board or the members to come in and speak with you. So, but I can get with Chair Boggs and Vice Chair Hawkins about that down the road when we get closer to having that on our agenda.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lemon?
Chairman, can I add one more thing to what I was saying?
Go ahead.
So mainly our concerns was, how did this program get pushed to be enacted before we even knew about it, you know, and what's the point of us knowing now? And the other thing is, you know, we want to get into the nitty-gritty of how this is being done. Where is the information being stored? How is, you know, have we tested this? Has the department tested this program anywhere with anyone, you know, in the community? And, you know, who supported this, et cetera, right? I mean, that's why we want to hear from these folks, you know. Maybe in the end, we'll say, okay, this is great. We love it. We agree with it. We support it. You know, maybe we want to hear reports, you know, regularly from these folks about how this program is running, its successes and failures and et cetera, you know. Maybe we want to hear all that before we, you know, decide to create a subcommittee. That's all I'm saying. All right,
and I can tell you right now that my vote is for you to be in charge of the subcommittee.
I don't know what I can, you know. Same
But
as,
you came up with 10 questions to my one, as far as, you know, so that's where I'm at. Thank you, thank you very much.
And just a reminder, you know, the commission is not an oversight committee, board. It's, you know, policies and procedures. So just if we can keep that in mind when we're discussing these topics, policies and procedures. So
Gotcha.
appreciate that.
I know, I believe it's Commissioner Lemons.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to just say, like, please don't mistake my silence on that for my lack of interest. I just agree with essentially the group consensus that we don't have enough information to move forward with a subcommittee yet, but I would certainly be interested in being on it once it's appropriate.
Thank you.
Speaking to Commissioner Shiver's point about the emergent tech being, you know, twice on our work plan and kind of more aspirational. I think it was prioritized and voted up so much because we actually do care, and I don't see that as an aspirational goal. I see that as something that quite honestly should have been brought to us before it was even rolled out, and not an aspirational goal. If one or if 2 out of the top 10 of our goals have to do with technology, I don't really think that's aspirational. Secondly, regarding the permanently installed cameras that we're just now being aware of, I think the commission, let alone the public, needs and deserves to know how they are currently being used and what future capabilities they have, even if they're not currently being used at the moment. And lastly, and this is just my frustration, I understand people are busy and stuff, but this is the second meeting we've had now without Chief Skinner or someone that we can be asking questions of from EPD. So we've had to table a lot of stuff, and we really need someone from the police department here to be present. It doesn't necessarily need to be Chief Skinner, but without that, it does make us less effective and it slows down our timeline. So I would like to see some change in that. Thank you, Chair.
That is heard.
That, yeah, I appreciate that, Commissioner Lemons, and Chair Boggs and I were talking about that earlier, and I apologize that we don't have Chief Skinner here or Deputy Chief Adams, but please know that that is noted, and we will be moving forward, make sure that we have someone here to speak to these topics as they come up.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yeah, I just want to, there's 2 things one thing I absolutely agree with, which is I'd love to see more Chief Skinner here. The second thing I want to call out is that, especially the way you phrased it, like, we were not aware that this was going to happen, which is, you know, very true. I'm not denigrating that, but that is something that has been talked about at this commission before. The city moves slow. These things aren't happening like bolts of lightning from a clear blue sky. They have been talked about. Where this information is stored, how it's recorded, the copious amounts of data usage that goes into it are things that we've talked about. They are not emergent technologies. Emergent technologies is new technologies. So that's where the aspirational element of this comes in, where we don't know what's going to be new in a month. We don't know what's going to be new in 3 months. So putting that on the work plan is to save us time and make sure that we're out in front of this stuff. I do think a review of the way this data is used, the way these cameras capabilities can continue to evolve is very, very important. And I think it fits well enough under emerging technologies for the chair and vice chair to carry that forward. But I also don't want to play science fiction, right? Like, we can spend forever talking about the infinite capabilities that technology is going to present to us. We will be wasting our time if we're talking about things that aren't on the table. And we have important work that we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dominguez?
For our new, sorry, who's the new minutes maker person, taker?
Her name is Trinae. Right.
Trinae, so if you could add in the minutes, this portion. So for the emergent technology, another thing that we could also be talking about would be how that whole thing about, remember how everybody has to register their guns now, and apparently the police department's the one that's supposed to be managing all that data somehow magically, even though we don't have that, but they were supposed to start doing that like in November or something like that. Like, how are we handling that technologically, I guess, is one thing that I'd like to know. Do you remember, do you know what I'm talking about?
That's still at the state level. No decisions have been made on that.
Oh, I thought that
So-
that had already passed and supposedly they were already like,
They're trying to work out all of the logistics and it's, as you can imagine, it's a logistical nightmare. So
Mhm.
it's still in discussions at state level.
okay. Hold on to
Commissioner
that,
Wynn?
okay.
Commissioner Wynn?
I wanted to just, touch on what Commissioner Shiver has said earlier about how we have, in the past discussed about the emergent technology and how data would be stored, et cetera. But, I want to point out that many of us, I may have been here, but, many of us are new to this body. And so what we've talked about in the past is kind of ancient history, and people who just joined recently don't really understand or realize we've talked about the subject. So it will always be good to revisit that. And then secondly, I think that this particular technology that Chief Skinner brought up, I think is a pilot project. Is that correct? If anybody remember? If so, we want to have it be successful if we all support it. And I think, if it's going to help with police work and keeping the community safer, then of course, there's no reason why we wouldn't support it. But part of our goal and our mission as a commission is also to help to bridge between the police department and the community and to create this, relationship that, the police department is not doing something that the community doesn't want. And that's why we're here. So, we're here to help communicate some of the, the value of our community from individual communities that we all belong to, subcommittee subcommunity. So, that's why we're here. We're here to help give this sort of support between the police department and the community. And what better it is than for us to understand what this technology is all about, so that when we do go out and do these outreach, or when we do go out and make contact with the community on our own, we can answer questions. If they say, hey, what is this new technology that the department came up with? It would be really sad if we just go, oh, I don't know. Not that we should know everything, but at least some of these new things that are emerging, we should at least understand what it is, so that we can, direct people to where they can ask more questions about that, or be able to explain it if we know it ourselves. So that's another reason why we need to, bring somebody here to explain to us what this is all about, and also to tell us why we didn't know about this before it was launched. That's what I would say about that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Lyman?
Thank you, Chair. Really quick, just what triggered me when Commissioner Lemons brought this up at the top of the meeting was it's only in the last month or 2 months or post the end of Roe that this technology is being shared by police departments with with Meta sharing it with the police or whoever, but this data is being used to block gender affirming care and reproductive health care. And I'm not suggesting that that's happening here, but that's not ancient or long discussed stuff. That's new uses of this technology. And that's what why a report on how and why a current use report is important to do exactly what Commissioner Wynn said, the purpose of this commission is. So thank you.
Commissioner Booker?
Yes, I like to piggyback off what Commissioner Wynn said about having somebody speak to us. I think especially me as a new commissioner, and as we have new commissioners coming in, we need to hear from City Council themselves and maybe as a collective body, since we answer to them in an advisory capacity. And I would like for them to urge to us what is the importance of this commission, because it seems like we are the last in the information chain when it comes to things we should be discussing policy around. So I would like to know from an advisory perspective, from the body that we answer to, which is the city council, what is the importance of this particular commission? I know this commission is not, I know like, for instance, Human Rights Commission is a commission that is governed by a city ordinance, meaning that the city council can't dismiss it, but they can dismiss this commission anytime they get ready to. So I would like to hear from the city council as to the importance of this particular commission and where we fall into the information chain, because it seems like we the last to know about things we're supposed to be discussing or supposed to be creating policy around. Also, if the continuity of things that were discussed before, is there a ledger of things that were previously discussed so we know not to bring it up again, or is it, but it seems like we just are talking in a circle and we're creating policy in a circle. And I really would like to hear from them, what's the importance of this commission and where do we fall in that information chain around things we're supposed to be discussing policy around?
My only question, our only counselor is right here.
Yeah,
Jennifer
so
Yang.
I guess I will try to answer. I'm not going to pretend I 100% understand exactly what you're getting at, but you know, the police commission was formed. I mean, we're talking about the bylaws today, you know, to advise on police policy, and that's your main job. And at least for the years that I have been on this commission, which are certainly not the majority of its existence, council has let the commission, working with EPD, on choose what policies they want to review, whether those are new things that are coming forward or old policies that you want to take a deeper dive on. Council, I mean, if you would prefer that council told you what policies, I don't think that would be beneficial to this group. I think the group choosing is better. I mean, the council does not supervise the police, right? We do, that's the city manager's job to supervise Chief Skinner, who then is in charge of his department. So we do not get reports that there is a new camera somewhere. That's not our role. So if you're looking for more up-to-date, day-to-day police activity, you're not going to get it from council.
No,
You're going to have to get that from Chief Skinner.
no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking,
Okay, I guess I don't understand what you're looking for.
I'm basically looking for, to hear from city council, what is it that they expect from us in terms of how we are disseminating information? It seems like this council is last in the information chain. So what I'm saying to, what I'm asking is, maybe the city manager should come to the meeting as well, so they can hear the things that we're discussing and our issues with this, with creating policy and the difference between advisory and accountability and all the issues that we keep bringing up. They seem to have a dead end street to them. So
I think my understanding of what the problem is right now is that there's we expect you to look at policy and and give advice about that policy and work with EPD to create the best policy we can. The council does not expect you to give oversight to the police department. And I feel like maybe is that where there's a desire to give that oversight? Okay, I guess I don't, maybe if we were, you know what, but Silky, maybe you and I can talk offline at another time about what, because I'm not getting, unless someone else understands better.
Now, here's my recommendation as a chair. I recommend that in a sooner than later meeting, we have Sarah Maderi, who's a city manager, that you can ask some of those questions, because ultimately she's above. She's at the level where we're at. There's not higher as far as our advisory committee, and I have no problem making it sooner than later. So I hear you 100%. Now you're still not done.
Correct.
So me and you will discuss how we bring up. We took the whole hour to overstay.
So it's actually turns out great that the chief isn't here this evening because we ran right over his time.
Right. No, go ahead.
So I will say that as the chair of the currently established subcommittee. I am actually delighted that we had this conversation regarding technology because we've actually made more progress with this conversation, as chaotic as it may be. We've made more progress with it than we have in several months because we actually have a plan moving forward now. So putting out the suggestion of the subcommittee was possibly going nuclear when we didn't necessarily need to do that, but we did make progress. So I'm still counting that as a win. The third item that I had as commissioner comments was that the National Night Out is coming up. And that's another area where I've seen a planned representation from the police force and a lot of the first responders. And that was another one that I would like to have added to the police commission calendar in future years. Pivoting to the law enforcement, mental health and wellness subcommittee, that is a mouthful. We have actually made a lot of progress. We're still having some logistical challenges as far as establishing a recurring meeting cadence, but it is still on the work plan, and Chair Boggs and I will be taking that to City Council next week with Holly's assistance. Some of the things that are in the works right now is starting to establish a first responder rest stop in Eugene. One that would be open preferably to EMTs and firefighters, possibly cahoots, not just police. And right now, the proposed location for that is at Willamette Christian Center on 18th and Hawkins. That's the church I attend. And Pastor Van Clements is actually fully on board with the idea. I was surprised at how much he jumped on board with that one. I did reach out, had an opportunity, thanks to Chief Skinner creating an introduction, had an opportunity to visit with a lieutenant at the Bend Police Department who described some of their wellness initiatives. One thing that really jumped out at me is that they do yoga the first hour of their mid shift, and it cost them about $28,000 a year, but surprisingly, it actually reduced their workers' comp premiums. So I think that's one thing that would be great for us to keep in mind as we keep exploring the opportunities is the unseen, perhaps unanticipated benefits.
Oh, finish. I'm just raising my hand. I still have a computer screen.
And then Sergeant Smith, of course, has pulled the current existing policies relating to law enforcement, mental health and wellness. And so we will be reviewing those, of course, and bringing those to the commission with some recommendations.
So we actually have a yoga program that just started about like maybe a month ago or so, right?
One of those things would have been nice to know yesterday.
I think it's been like,
Sorry.
Awesome.
it's a pilot, like they just did it a couple of times. I don't know if it's actually like, or you probably know more than me.
Well, I haven't gone yet.
Okay.
No, info sharing. I have tendonitis in my knee and my PT told me that I need to go to yoga. So I'm going to be signing up for it here pretty
Nice.
soon. But yes, so that is something that has started, well, I didn't say about a month ago. So,
Okay,
but yeah.
this is a case where I'm glad to be late to the party.
Me too.
All right, sure, thank you.
Okay. Obviously, the chief is not here. We need him, we miss him, we want him, and we will be sharing with him how much we do need him. So that will be communicated. Commissioners Lemon, Commissioner Booker, Commissioner Wynn, everything that you discussed, not only do I hear you loud and clear, but it's my job as a chair to make sure that those type of things I see, and because y'all spoke up, I'm able to say, we're going to figure out a time to meet prior to our next meeting, so we can just kind of talk about some of your ideas to kind of make it, because one person, two person, three person, four, I can get more information from all of you as far as ideas, as far as whom we will want to speak. It sounds like it might be someone else when we put our minds together, in addition to who's with the Eugene Police. And I also think that to some of the concerns of Commissioner Booker, you need to hear that from the city manager. That would be the appropriate person to tell you some of those answers.
Yes.
Now, a person who I am very, very glad that he has stepped up this he stepped up and he's doing a lot of things that many of us have been talking about. So I'm gonna turn this next section into review police commission bylaws to Commissioner Sean Shippers.
Thank you so much. I will share my screen here momentarily. Looking on the meeting packet, page 15 is where we left off last time, sections 7 and 8. So this was taken from the this was taken from the old bylaws, which were directly quoting the ordinance. I updated the language to make it more inclusive for economic status, gender, sexual orientation to the upper sections, but it was a deviation from what's listed in the ordinance. Our bylaws don't supersede the ordinance, but there was some concern about these categorizations and if we should have them at all. So to just catch us up on the conversation last time, what we were discussing before, and we never got to a motion, was whether we wanted to have this section, section 8 specifically, include these listed out categories in order to ensure that future commissions think about these things as they're appointing people, or if we feel that's limiting rather than uplifting and we want to remove them. Scott.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not seeing it, and I don't know if the motion was made or seconded, but on, before we get to 8, number 7, just to be in line with all of the other boards, it was urban growth boundary unless an exception is granted by city council. Just wanted to make sure that was still in there. And then I'll reserve my comments for 8.
Members of the commission will be unless accepted by city council, adding that to number 7. Do we have any objections to that or any concerns about that? I think
I'm no concern.
Right. I think it's an unenumerated thing, but just to make sure that we're not stepping on any toes.
And you said it's in line with what other, yeah.
So I just added that bit right there. Dr. Booker?
Yeah, once we are, I guess, done with this particular section, there was some sections that I had read previously that I wanted to ask questions about pertaining to the bylaws, but I don't want to step on your feet in terms of you discussing what you've already amended, because some of the stuff is on the very first page.
Okay. I've got 2 more documents after this one, but I will try to go through them fast.
No worries.
Thank you. If there, I know, Jennifer, you were the one who said you might want to just eliminate all this extra verbiage as potentially limiting. I was wondering if you were still worried about that or if you liked this phrasing.
Well, I mean, what I was trying to say was it seems to imply that we should give it says additional considerations. So when I read that, what it means to me is I should elevate people who are students, social service providers, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of people that aren't in this list. And just because you don't have a social service job or you're not a community leader, I mean, I don't see how these people, these very specific groups are more important than someone who has a job that doesn't fall into this. Like, I don't know how many of us wouldn't fit into this.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly happy eliminating that unless anybody has strong opinions for keeping it. Just deleting the section, additional consideration, and going through F. and deleting all those, but leaving the race, culture, economic status, gender, sexual orientation, disability, and age.
Commissioner Lemon,
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to delete A through F.
I'll second.
there you go.
No,
So we have
no,
a sec-
motion necessary. I will do it before I make a motion to accept the changes.
Okay, great.
Seeing no other oh, Alan.
Alan is gonna, at the risk of being like a pest, at the end of 7, a demonstrated interest and expertise in police matters.
We agreed to take that out.
I mean, yeah,
talked about it,
and
forgot.
or expertise, maybe, like, because you definitely want to have people that are not police experts, perhaps. They may be very well suited. So that's my point, and you can do whatever you want. Thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, I added a /or in there.
Excellent.
Does that help? Does that help, Commissioner Lehman?
Seeing no other comments or concerns, I move that we accept 7 and 8 and add them to the bylaws to replace previous sections 3 and 4.
I'll second that one.
Cool. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Silverio, are you abstaining or?
Vote aye. It's hard for me to get to the reactions on here.
Yeah, no worries at all. I just want to make sure we're not leaving you out. All right, the last one in Article 3 is now Section 13. This is an example of things that would need to come at an ordinance change level. I personally don't approve changing it, but I wanted to bring it up as a possibility to the commission, given the ad hoc's stipend and the reasons that this commission advocated for a stipend for the ad hoc committee, i.e. increasing accessibility to marginalized communities. Currently, the bylaws preclude any compensation for commission members. I don't advocate for changing that. But I wanted to offer the discussion here to put on a future work plan and just collect some thoughts on that. I see Alan.
I really would like to hear Commissioner's thoughts. You're basically saying, should they be getting paid?
Yeah, it'd probably be, there's any number of potential things. If we go the same way that the ad hoc committee, it'd be a small stipend. Let's start with Alan.
Yeah, just a real quick question. What the ad hoc committee, just can you tell me what that was? And
Yeah, tell us what you
apparently
know.
that it was a departure and they got paid, apparently. So thanks.
Yeah. Silverio, if you want to take this since you were on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So as somebody I was a participant on the ad hoc committee, and I was actually one of the other people that were pushing for the creation of it. So we did receive a stipend for each meeting. I think it was like $50 a meeting, generally about $25 per hour for any of the meetings that we took part in. There is a situation where if a person gets over $600 a year, they do have to file it through as a tax thing through the federal government. But I think I was one of the people who voted. I actually abstained from this because I was going to benefit from it, but I was also pushing for a small stipend because it would help with people that generally can't make it to the meetings because they're either working or they have to pay for childcare. And if it's some issue where somebody would have to pay to have a babysitter or childcare provided for their children and they're not able to come to the meetings, which has happened, then this would help.
Commissioner Lemon?
Thank you, Chair. I really want to advocate for a stipend, kind of piggybacking on Commissioner Bogart's comments. Even outside of work and childcare, opportunity cost is something that really needs to be considered, especially when you're as poor as I am or other people. But also for optics and for the legitimacy of this to be changed, I would suggest that we put like commissioner members that have not voted on this, so we're not getting paid, so therefore we're not voting for ourselves to get paid. But it would increase diversity and inclusion on the board if we did include stipends. So I think it is very important, but I'm also looking out for the optics. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Dominguez?
Perhaps there could be like some kind of a threshold or something where maybe if you make a certain amount, then like if you make below that amount, then maybe you do get a stipend, and maybe above that, then maybe you don't or something. I don't know. I feel like a lot of programs kind of have that kind of setup. So I feel like maybe that might be something to consider. So we are getting people that make less than a certain amount, and we're giving them the ability to do that. And then we're not necessarily just giving everybody a stipend. And maybe that's financially a little bit easier. I don't know how much money, like if it's too much money to be giving out to a commission that never had money before. But at least maybe that would soften the blow. And again, we would still be getting people that are of some kind of cutoff lower socioeconomic status. So
Commissioner Mogart?
Yeah, hey, thank you. It has to be an option where it's given to every member. I don't know if the city council members would want to take it or not. I think they wouldn't be allowed to because they already receive paychecks from the city, but a person can always turn it down if they don't want to receive it. And general compensation for meetings such as these has been about $25 per hour. I would again abstain from voting on this particular issue. It would definitely help me, but for the foreseeable future, I think it would definitely help bring in not just communities of color, but people who are disadvantaged and don't have a voice at this table.
Yeah,
Hold
I
on,
just
hold on.
I wanted to remind you all that it was about last year at this time that Chair Boggs and Vice Chair Dominguez wrote a letter to the city manager asking the same question about stipends for the police commission, and gave a substantial, reason why, and kind of along these lines. And she replied back that it would be one of those things where they would have to do this for all boards and commissions and committees. And at the time, and I don't want to speak for her, but if I recall correctly, and Chair Boggs and Bonnie, if you recall this as well, I think it was something that she wasn't quite ready to approach. But I just wanted to remind you all that we have come to her before with this same ask.
yeah, I think before I was asking specifically for bus transportation, I think what I was asking specifically, just for more information, is I was asking that since city employees are part of the LTD bus program, I was hoping that commissioners could also be added to that. That's all I was asking for, and that received a no. So I'm imagining even more direct money probably will be rejected, but anyway, doesn't hurt to try again with a different thing.
If the board wants to advise or ask for something and we're told no, that means that we asked again and we got told no again. Now there's two things. One, I'm the type of person, when I'm told no, that I move on and I do the next thing. But we provide a document and a pattern of what you're wanting and what you're asking for, and you've been told no. So if y'all want to vote for something that you feel compassionate about and advise upon it, so do it. That's why we vote. That's why we vote. So I don't want anyone thinking, well, I'm not going to vote because well, so what? We don't know what we don't know. In reverse of that is we could be told yes. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say it sounds like a number of people would be uncomfortable voting on something like this, since they're directly benefiting from it. I don't know if this is a solution or not, but I'm willing to bring this topic up with the city manager at our next one-on-one and talk about it with her, and bring back some more information to you guys, if as a first step, if that would be something people were interested in doing before we did something more formal. I do agree that it's probably a conversation that's going to happen about all boards and commissions rather than picking one special one. But I mean, while there are a lot of financial issues that the city's dealing with, we're not talking about millions of dollars here. So I think it's worth having a conversation. It would not be the first time we have talked about this either. So it's definitely on people's minds.
Yeah. I'm having trouble raising my hand in the system because I'm screen sharing currently. Am I still screen sharing?
No, I saw your hand. You were actually next.
Thank you. Yeah, so I don't want to, because this is bylaws review, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the pros or cons of it. So far, I've only heard pros. So I would make the motion to recommend to City Council to take a look at the issue. That way we can put it off of our plate and not run into any issues of us benefiting from our own votes, but for all the same reasons that it would benefit us, I think it's more important and a bigger impact that it will help every commission the same way for all the same solid reasons that Silver and Scott and Bonnie have listed.
Okay, so before we do that, I want to hear from Commissioner Mogart and Commissioner Lemons.
So about 20 years ago, when I started my work with the city and I was doing the diversity and equity group, which existed about 18 years ago, they wouldn't allow us to park like with parking spaces. We had to pay for our own parking spaces. The city has a long time been really, stingy about sharing specific things with the city, with people that are working for them or with them. This is definitely something that would improve not just the board participation or council participation for all of those different committees that currently exist. It would make the demographics of each single one of those look differently, because I look at the demographics now and it's often the same people who have the same amount of time and the same sort of socioeconomic capability to be able to participate in these things. And oftentimes I'm told by people who want to get involved, they want to participate, they don't have a voice at the table, they can't afford to do something like this. So I would, for myself, because I was a part of the ad hoc committee that made this decision, abstain from voting, but I've been out of work for about 9 months. So I would definitely benefit from this. I would wish that this would be something that would be done sooner rather than later.
Does that mean you second my motion?
Yes,
He might. We have 2 more commissioners that need to speak. Let's start with Commissioner Lemons.
Thank you. And honestly, a lot of what I was gonna say was already said. So I'll be brief. I don't think, and I would encourage our fellow commissioners and the city council to not see that like having to give stipends to every board as a bad thing. I think that would actually be great. And from my understanding, the police commission is one of the first commissions that was established in Eugene. So we've been a leader from the beginning since the 90s. So I don't see a reason why we can't be a leader on increasing diversity through stipend. So that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Wynn, and then Commissioner Mogart.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, maybe when this commission was created, and maybe at the same time, other boards and commissions were created too. Maybe the notion back then was, if you're interested in serving your community, compensation was not going to be something that would deter you from not getting compensated, would not be something that would deter you from wanting to be involved. But, times has changed, and Commissioner Mogart and other folks on the commission brought up really good points that if you have, it's all about leveling the playing field. People who have to worry about childcare and having to pay for that to be able to dedicate their 2.5 hours to be at this meeting once a month and serve on other, capacity, then maybe that would help. It would help folks who are who doesn't have, a hefty, salary that they can live on or pension they can live on. $50, $100 per meeting makes a huge difference, for some folks. It would help to pay for stuff like, childcare, or if you're driving there, that takes gas, to drive back and forth to the meeting, things like that, and then, and emails, internet service, cell service if you're using your phone to attend the meeting, all that costs money. And I honestly don't think that it would erode the, the sense of people wanting to serve the community just because we get a small stipend. And it wouldn't change the fact that we're volunteers for the city either. That's all.
Commissioner Booker?
I just want to vote on it so we could, because I have some issues, some things I wanted to bring up for the bylaws. So I was just gonna say, can we go ahead and vote on this?
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, hold on. Commissioner, Holly, do you have
I
something?
just was curious, those that are serving on other boards and commissions throughout the community, do you get paid for your, and I'm just asking this as a question, just so I can kind of maybe get an understanding of what's happening in the private sector, but do you get paid for serving on boards and like chair box, do you get paid?
The question's been
No,
called, we
no.
have to vote on it.
Right, right, so, okay, let's start with this, and we're gonna vote on it. I have brothers and sisters that make hundreds of thousands of dollars on board.
Mhm.
So people do get paid.
Okay, I was just
Yeah, yeah,
asking, I
yeah.
was just on my.
Yeah. It's so,
Like financial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner, and the only thing that I ask when you do your motion, Commissioner Shivers.
The
do you-
motion's
do you
been
do the
made.
amount? Yeah, but I'm saying, are you gonna say an amount in your motion?
No,
Or you
no, not
saying-
at all. No, I'm leaving
Yeah.
all of that up to the city council. I
Oh,
don't,
great, go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
and just procedurally, motion gets made. If it receives a second, then we talk about it. If it doesn't receive a second, we don't even talk about it. And then once the question has been called, we vote on it.
So point of clarification. Point of clarification,
Yeah,
can you repeat the motion?
The motion
Yeah.
is to recommend to city council that they examine the possibility of providing a stipend to boards and commissions. That's it.
Aye.
does he have a second?
Second,
He already did. Scott seconded it
Scott seconded. Lemon.
before.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Looks like that's unanimous. I can't see the room, so I will leave the tallying up to you.
Commissioner Shivers, I'm a no on that one.
Moving on to the next section for bylaws. Page 17 in the packet. I am proposing a couple of things here. Quorum shall consist of 50% plus one of current police commission membership for the transaction of official business. This is reworded to avoid a situation where we only have 6 commission members and we are no longer able to recommend new commission members to join us. And I guess I should just go chronologically. I also changed the number of meetings that is a minimum we must conduct per year from 6 to 8. We already do 11 per year. It's not a big change, but I want to move in that direction to ensure it's more recognized the amount of work we actually do. And this also goes into I am looking at the wrong page.
You on page 17?
Good.
Yep, sorry, page 17 is different changes. Sorry about that. Page 17, the first change that I talk about is changing the term of chair and vice chair to 2 years from 1 year. This change is to reflect the length that our work plans go through and allow chairs and vice chairs to see out the length of their term. So yeah, ignore the first thing I said. I see V's hand.
V? Mr. Nguyen? You have your hand up.
All right, sorry. It was a clarification question for the last section that you showed.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. Sorry.
Yeah, then I'll wait.
Commissioner Lemons?
Thank you, Chair. On this point, I do disagree with changing the bylaws to 2 years. And I'm not saying this is the case because it's certainly not right now, but if this commission ends up, electing a chair or vice chair that cannot finish the 2 years or is not going in the correct direction that the commission sees, there would be no way to correct it until 2 years. So we would lose like 2 years of progress, or at least a year. So I am against it for those reasons. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say?
I agree.
Commissioner Booker? Commissioner Booker?
I agree with Commissioner Lemons. That's all.
All right. I don't want to fight about it, so I'll change it back to 1 year.
I think that's good. Yeah. If I start seeing 3 and 4 commissioners opposed to something, that's fine. Go back to where it was. So leave it at 1.
Yeah, it's not something that I.
Okay, let's go on. Let's move on to
so number 5, in the absence of chair or in the event of chair's inability, temporarily act by simple. This is just a clarification question to avoid situations where we only have a few commissioners who are sitting. It doesn't necessitate that we have 7 members to vote on every simple majority issue. Are there any concerns about that? Okay, seeing none. The second one is gender, changing it from he/she to their. Excellent. And the one that I feel like might generate more discussion here is the expectations of fellow commissioners and of our chair and vice chair. So here it sets up two things basically. In addition to the other requirements, it requires that chair and vice chair attend monthly planning meetings to set up cunning agendas. City staff shall report absences to the commission at the next commission meeting. A chair or vice chair is presumed to have resigned if they miss 3 consecutive planning meetings or 4 planning meetings within a year, and a new vice chair shall be appointed. This is to avoid. It's for 2 reasons, really. One, we deserve a chair and vice chair that are doing their jobs. The second reason is to avoid a situation of a chair being friends with a vice chair or vice chair being friends with a chair and refusing to report them despite the fact that they're not doing their job. It's also to eliminate the awkward social situation where your chair or vice chair isn't doing their job and you are then faced with a choice that is entirely your discretion about whether to recommend that they resign or whether to ask them to resign. And this eliminates the social biases and the personal, you know, perceptions from it. It just sets rules and expectations so that there's no room for worry about that. Alan,
Commissioner Lyman?
Thank you. Yeah, my only point on that, I would oppose that simply on the grounds that the commission as a body is putting its faith in two individuals for a year, and you got to give some discretion and leeway, I believe, to the chair to run it the way the chair believes it should be efficient. I think this is just kind of tying hands and trying to force accountability, but it's really the choice, the selection is important, and the 1 year instead of 2 is a great way to keep that minimize the risk. Thank you.
Commissioner Mogart?
Yeah, the other thing that I would ask is, you said a report. Who's reporting to whom about vacancies or absences?
City staff shall report absences to the commission. Basically, you know, I'm no longer chair or vice chair, or you're not chair or vice chair. So we don't know if our chair and vice chair are meeting and conducting planning meetings.
Okay. I thought you were just talking about regular absences, but that's fine.
No, it's also important to clarify here, they're not resigning from the commission. I'm just in this part saying that they are resigning from leadership.
Understood.
I want to add something. I want to add something real quick. And just so y'all know, at least as long as I've been a chair, that typically I don't get into the why you're absent. It's all we're looking for is someone telling us they're not going to make a meeting, and then that's 100% excuse. So that's not my thing. So I just want to make sure y'all realize that all we're asking for, all this chair is asking for, is the courtesy that you're not going to be here. And typically we get that. So just letting you know. Commissioner Wynn?
Yeah, I think someone else said something in line of what I was going to say, which is, you know, the idea is something I agree with. You know, if you're going to be in leadership role, there are certain added responsibility, and that's what you have to, you know, contribute to. But the enforceability of this, you know, how do you, this putting a lot on Holly to have to, you know, let the commission know that, hey, you know, Chair Boggs and Chair Hawkins, Vice Chair Hawkins have not attended the meeting. That's a lot to put on her, I think. So for that, I also would not support this.
Mr. Booker?
I agree with Commissioner Wynn and Commissioner Lehman, that's all.
I will say,
Dominguez?
I agree with Sean. I think that, like, I trust that Dallas and Hawkins will both be there and are willing to, like, be there for every single meeting that they need to do. And if they aren't there, I want Holly. I don't think it's a lot to ask of Holly to take attendance and make sure that we have a good commission, we do have a good vice chair and chair. So I fully support this. Because I want that leadership. Without them, like, our ship's just gonna, like, go all over the place.
Commissioner Lemons?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I fully agree with Commissioner Shivers and Dominguez as well. And stepping up into leadership is a big thing, but we wouldn't be able to do and have the impact we have if we don't have effective leaders creating that communication line. So I think this is actually a really important one to keep in. So that's how I'm going to be voting. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Because it almost looked to me like that it's almost like a divide. Okay, go ahead.
I had a question for Sean. I'll make sure is it that that it's staff, not necessarily Holly, I guess, would notify us once they reached they have missed?
no, it's basically what Holly already does, where Holly says, I met with Dallas over the weekend, blah, 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 blah. Or I met with Dallas and Jensina. over the weekend. So yeah, I also don't think it's a big ask of her because she's already doing it 9 times out of 10 and we don't even notice.
And I will say that it is not uncommon to have requirements for folks who are on boards to, as a board member, you have requirements to show up. And if you miss so many unexcused absences, you are assumed to resign. I've seen that on other bylaws before. The planning meetings, I mean, we can always see how it goes. I think if people aren't planning properly in some way, you're gonna see that in the meetings, but I do agree that accountability is important.
So just for clarification, so Justina has a subcommittee planning meeting talking about law, mental health, whatever, and Lemons and Booker don't show up. That's recorded?
So no, this is the monthly planning meetings for the meeting overall, the primary responsibility of the chair and vice chair above a regular.
Okay, that's fine. That's great. That's all. So are you ready to?
Yeah, so I make a motion that we add sections E and 1 to the bylaws.
I'd love to second that.
Oh, wait, I have a question, point of clarification.
Yeah. This is
For planning meetings within a year and a new vice chair shall be appointed. So I like the idea of the consecutive, but I could imagine that like somebody would get sick or something and then like randomly.
Yeah, so part of the reason I'm putting this in here, and it'll really come up with section 10, is that a while ago, there was a board member who I love very deeply, and he was not able to attend because of health reasons for a large stretch of the year. And we didn't want to kick him off the board because we really valued his input. But at the same time, we were missing a community perspective that we needed. So I wanted to add parallel here with the chair and vice chair, as we will see with my next motion, which will be to add section 10. But first, for right now, the only motion on the board is section E and 1 beneath that. We've got a second. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Are we allowed to vote on that, Dallas? I would have thought that we would have to abstain.
No. Do we have to say?
Okay, well then,
Aye. Okay, yeah, so you have more, yeah, so the ayes have it.
Okay. Yeah. If you voted no or abstained, I guess everybody who says no, please raise your hand. Alan and Silverio and V. Okay. The ayes do have it. Moving on to section 10. This is the same thing, only.
John, hold on.
I'm gonna have a recorder. She just asked for some clarification.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So then there was, the no's were Commissioner Silverio, Commissioner Lehman, and Commissioner V. Wynn. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm
Thank
also-
you.
Thanks. Sorry about that. Thanks for interrupting my flow. Next section, section 10 on the same
Page
document.
18.
Let me
Sorry.
double check. No, it is still page 17. It is the last little one on page 17. This one applies more broadly to the commission, not just to the chair and vice chair. And this one is, the commission shall recommend to the city council that any member who misses more than 3 consecutive meetings or misses more than 4 meetings in a 12-month period with or without quorum be removed within 6 months. So there's the reason that this one is a little bit differently phrased is because we don't want to kick people off the commission. That's not our role. That's not our job. We do, however, want to recommend to city council that somebody who is unable to do their job, that the city council knows because they appointed us to do a specific job, and that they have the opportunity to replace that person if they so desire. The reason there's a 6-month window is because sometimes it's more advantageous to not kick somebody off immediately when there's an upcoming appointment period. And I want to offer the flexibility for city staff to roll in the newly created absence with the existing appointment process if the city council so desires.
Can you say that one more time, but differently?
Yeah, so if the city council wants to just go through a normal appointment process for a vacancy created by somebody who's been absent for 6 meetings, the 6-month period will allow them to do that.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Lemons?
Thank you, Chair. And I fully realize my hand is always going up first on this one. I studied those bylaws a lot. I have some opinions. I wholeheartedly support this one. From my understanding from the former bylaws to this one, this was formerly left to the chair. And I fully appreciate, like you, Chair Boggs, just informing you and not having to give you a reason why. But we can't guarantee that a chair is going to be like you in the future. And there is a responsibility to show up here so we can get our business done. So I wholeheartedly support it. I don't know if I was going through a health problem or other similar thing, if I would feel comfortable sharing it with the chair or anybody else. So this just makes it more objective and clear. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yeah, I think I need a little clarity for as far as when we're talking about, are we talking about a calendar year? Are we talking about roving year?
This would be a roving year.
Roving year, okay. If so, then I think that needs to be in there in the language somewhere.
Commissioner Mogart?
Yeah, why 6 months?
Because we run the appointment process every year, and if somebody's runs out at the beginning of that year, I would love for the city council to appoint a new commissioner in time to do work, and waiting any longer than 6 months feels like it wouldn't give us the people we need to meet quorum and to do our work. And any less than 6 months won't give city council the flexibility they need to work with the rest of the city schedule.
So I'll say this, it seems to me like this is something that should be in the hands of leadership. If they see something that's an issue with a member who's not, showing up, that's on the leadership, that's on the chair, co-chair to go and step in to say, hey, we realize this is going on. We want to, reach out to you. Is this something you want to continue to do or you want to step down? I don't like having these unnecessary, little hooks or pitches or things that are like, if you're not going to show up in 6 months and, this is going to happen to you, it just feels like it's unnecessary. I think it's definitely something that leadership should be stepping in and doing.
Do we have any more questions?
I have a response to that.
Wait, go ahead and do your response.
So this specifically takes it out of the hands of the chair for a couple of reasons. One is the same socially awkward dynamic where we are expected to work together, leaving that up to chair discretion, which is how it is in the bylaws as they exist. Creates a situation where it's more difficult to work with people. It also sets up a situation where a chair who likes one person and doesn't like another can excuse the absences of one person and not excuse the absences of another, and thereby prune the commission according to their whim. And I feel like that's an unjust system.
Couldn't the same thing be said, though, that a person who the chair doesn't like, they set up to fail, and the same kind of situation would occur where, the chair can get rid of somebody?
That might still be possible, but it's lessened by this.
Commissioner Lemons?
Thank you, Chair.
I see your hand is back up. Are you another question?
No, absolutely went back up. Thank you. Just in response to a couple of the last comments on this, I think it is very important. Honestly, like missing that many meetings in a year, like honestly ridiculous anyways, but that's my own personal opinion. but to create an objective standard and take social dynamics out of the situation, and then therefore future members know exactly what they're committing to. I don't see that as a bad thing whatsoever. Thank you.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yeah, I am not sure if I'm comfortable with the end of that verbiage where it says, be removed within 6 months. Again, somebody else talked about that. I think it was Commissioner Mogart. I don't know why it's 6 months. Why not as soon as possible? Or no further than, I don't know. I would be more comfortable if it's 3 months instead of letting it drag on and on and on. If that person hasn't been there for 4 months and they decided not to come back after that, do we wait another 6 months before we get a replacement? I would have.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
All right.
Commissioner Wynn, are you finished? Because I didn't thought you stopped and I thought you were done.
Yeah. I just wanted to raise that concern. And this is putting a lot. I don't know how we're going to actually execute this part of the bylaw. Do we call, for example, if let's say we have a John on or a Sally on a commission who don't show up, do we as commission members call you or email who do we, what sort of pathway? I'm trying to understand the matrix here. How do we even communicate this to you? Or is this put onto you and Vice Chair Hawkins to execute this?
Okay, I think some of your answers will be Holly.
Well, I just was wondering, a point of clarification, is this going to do away with excused absences and unexcused absences?
Yeah, that's the ideal behind here, because it frankly, in my view, it doesn't matter whether an absence is legitimate or not, and who's to judge legitimacy. What matters here is that we are appointed to serve a public service, and if we're not serving it, the public deserves us to find somebody who can.
Right, and then would it be the expectation of the commission member to email? Right now, what usually happens is they'll either email me and Chair Boggs, or they'll text me or whatever, and then I communicate that to the chair and the vice chair. So there needs to be where staff is involved, I think, because who else is going to be tracking this?
Yeah, the expectation that is that enforcement would fall to city staff and the chair. And enforcement being taking attendance at the meeting and who shows up and who doesn't. And there's the concern. One of the concerns that I had was like, what if they show up for 5 minutes at the very beginning but have to leave? As written, the bylaws would not count that as an absence. But we can't solve everything, frankly. And I think this is a step in the right direction.
One more just point of view is, now that we're having the ability to meet online, I know sometimes, people have their camera turned off, and I'm not sure if people are listening, or if they're stepped away, or if they're in the other room eating dinner, or it's really hard to tell if they're actually participating. So I'm just throwing that out there.
This doesn't have a participation requirement. And I don't want to, treat us like infants. We're adults, things come up, absences will happen. And I think to address the earlier concern, it would be nice as professional adults to notify the chair and the fellow commission of absences before they happen, if we can, just as a point of courtesy. But things happen. I was in a car accident a month ago.
Okay, let's go through these. Commissioner Lemons.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank Commissioner Wynn for bringing up the last part of that, because I didn't quite honestly pay attention as much to that. I would recommend that we, instead of 6 months, we put as soon as possible. That leaves that, you know, the 6 months is still available to city council, but as soon as possible leaves it a bit more open. Just from my personal experience, it was literally my first meeting on the Human Rights Commission, and it was reported that a certain commissioner had missed an amount of meetings, and there was a group vote on whether or not to not allow him to continue his term. So that's just kind of how it goes on other commissions. And then, yeah, just to get to Holly's point, you know, about like cameras on, cameras off, presence, that kind of stuff, like that's just getting way too much in the weeds. I think the point of this is to make it objective and to ensure that people know what they're signing up for and what the commitment is.
Mr. Mogart?
Yeah, thank you. That is one of the questions that we ask, and that's something that we've included in the questionnaire. Do you understand the commitment before you get into this this body? I can tell you from experience that there's been a number of people who don't find their voice within the first couple of months. And if they're participating and they're not, you know, actively saying anything because they don't know how to proceed, because they've never been on a body like this before, they don't understand how the roles work. That's my concern. You have a year. If you can't step up in a year, if you can't learn how to speak up or, you know, advocate for you or your community in a year, then maybe it's time to step down. But I think you have this much time to you know, we're gonna basically push you out of the tree like a baby bird. I don't appreciate that. I think the way we have it currently, you can, you know, get some excused absences or unexcused absences will lead you to being called. But this here just feels restrictive. I'm gonna vote no.
Okay, Commissioner Booker?
I agree. I think this is micromanagement. I think this is, I don't agree with this at all. I think we are adults. I think it's taking responsibility out of the chair and vice chair to pick the right candidates. I think it's up to the chair and vice chair to convey their expectations up front before selecting new members. So I feel like this is micromanagement. Even colleges don't take this kind of role. It's ridiculous. So I just feel like if you are selected, let the chair and vice chair convey what their expectations are and go from there. I feel like it's unnecessary. It's too much micromanaging.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Dominguez?
I'd like to hold off because what Booker just said kind of triggered something and I forgot what I wanted to say.
Okay. Commissioner Wynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to touch on what Commissioner Mogart said earlier about, you know, some new members join us, you know, end up with stage fright or whatever, you know, decided not to speak or participate. I was on the with Commissioner Shiver, with Commissioner Mogart and a few others. We were on an interview panel to pick out, you know, to interview and to recommend. And we had, you know, quite a few interviews that time. I think it was like close to 100. One of the things that I wish we had done was, you know, ask people who wanted to be on the commission to attend our meetings at least once, you know, and that way they could see what we do instead of, you know, willy-nilly apply for this and not realize what they're getting into. That way we don't have to sacrifice their participation for the first year, you know. Rather, you know, they come in realizing what they're going to get into and be able to participate immediately or shortly after. That would be my recommendation, you know, for the next interview subcommittee to you know, to make that as part of the email that's sent out to folks who applied to you know, please attend our meeting or watch one of our meetings that are pre-recorded.
Those are questions that we currently pose.
Pardon me?
Let's go back to Commissioner Dominguez.
I guess the only concern that I had is that we have a new commissioner that is currently not here, even though I think he is supposed to be here, something like that. I don't think that should count against him because it's the first meeting. That's all.
And just to clarify, me and Holly are aware of, he has an excused absence. Often when you don't see a person, there's an excused absence. And we do track attendance. So people have left previous where a conversation was made by myself, or in some cases, and Vice Chair Mogart knows that because I had him to do a conversation before. So we do those conversations when a person doesn't have attendance. So just so where I'm at right now is I'm kind of in agreement with Commissioner Mogart. You could take number 10 totally off the plate because we're doing that now. So that's me. So Commissioner Mogart.
Oh, yeah, I didn't put my hand down, but yeah,
Well,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, you're right. There's been a lot of people that have come through and that I've seen that don't know how to participate. And part of what I do and those conversations that I had with when you were chair and I was the vice chair, I can't tell you how many times I reached out to people who weren't participating. I mean, dozens and dozens. And at some point it just falls on them. So.
Commissioner Lemons.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to point out, this section in our bylaws has nothing to do with participation, nothing to do with cameras being on or off. It has everything to do with the commitment that they made, which is explicitly stated in the interviews. So there's no value judgment on their input whatsoever. They can certainly take their time to find their voice. It just means they need to show up. To Commissioner Wynn's point, attendance and asking about can you please look up a police commission or have you been to a police commission meeting is part of our interview process going. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Lyman.
Thank you. I just want to point out that a majority of us or of this commission just imposed these very restrictions on the people that it's entrusting with the leadership that earned the respect and trust to lead. And now I hear a bunch of people where it's imposing it on the rank and file of us who are more likely to miss meetings and everything, and to take discretion away from the chair. It just seems a little bit kind of at odds, and I voted no for imposing that on the leadership, but I'm going to definitely vote yes to impose it on the membership, partly because it takes away that discretion. Thank you.
Commissioner.
I would actually state for those that commented about this selection committee and how the applicants for the police commission, having chaired the most recent selection committee, I don't know that I would consider that a valid indicator of somebody's future participation. We all join our various programs and boards with the best of intentions, but asking a question like, can you commit to attending meetings is kind of like saying, are you against child abuse? And everybody's going to say, yeah, I'm totally against child abuse. Yes, I'm totally going to attend all of the meetings. So I personally don't like having that question being weighted on the selection process because it really feels like a gimme.
Commissioner Lemons.
Yeah, no, just real quickly. I was just responding to Commissioner Wynn's comment on that one. I pretty much agree with Vice Chair on that one. But I guess what I was saying is actions speak louder than words. So you can say whatever you want to in an interview, but if you don't prove it, then it's in the bylaws, and you're subject to them. Thank you.
Commissioner Wynn, and then we're going to do a vote.
Okay. So Vice Chair Hawkins, I know that, it's difficult to ask that question during an interview and expect people to hold on to that, their declaration. But, that's the whole point of having a vow, right? When when people get married, they have a vow that they, utter to the other person in front of a priest or whatnot. There's a point to that. there's a point to saying, yes, I will come to your meetings, and yes, I'll be an active participant, an active, member of the commission. And then it's up to them to hold on to their words. And if they can't hold on to their words, then what are the consequences? You can't just leave it willy-nilly. I mean, there has to be something written down. I mean, we're here, we're a body that comes together to work on policies, making recommendations to the police department. And the whole point of it is that the police officers are supposed to be held accountable to the policies. So why can't we also be held to our policies and our bylaws? I think in some circumstances in the recent past, there were instances where, our members don't show up, and it was difficult for, I can't speak directly for anybody, but it's difficult for people in charge of the commission to pull that plug, to push that button or pull that plug. And it would help if we have some mechanism of helping to communicate that we were unhappy that this individual or several individuals have not been showing up to the meetings or had their videos off. I think that's also considered as non-participation for that meeting. Or they come for 1 hour and leave. It's just not fair. Out of fairness for everyone, if you're gonna be on the police commission, come to the meetings. You can miss 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 in this case, but I've been on this commission for one term. This is our 2nd term for me, and I don't think I've missed 1 single meeting. If anything, maybe 1 meeting out of that 4-year. So that's the level of commitment that I'm expecting other people who want to be on this commission to show the same seriousness. And if they can't, sure, there may be illnesses, unexpected, events in their life, but come on, if you're going to be missing a quarter of the year, there's something wrong. You're either not going to be here or you're going to be here. That's my take on it. It's just not fair for the rest of us to do the work and to pull the weight, and you have a few individuals who don't show up.
Thank you. Chair, my hand still isn't working. And
Okay, one second. Did you have something to add to this? Mr. Booker, your hand is up, Booker.
Yes, I do. 2 things. One, I like to use myself as an example. I travel quite a bit. So for instance, I think if a commissioner is going to go through the vetting process and gets elected, I think it's incumbent upon that person to live up to what they say they're going to do. And I use myself as an example. I fly to UK. It was time difference was crazy. I still made it to the meetings. If they're going to want to be here,
Your internet, or you've been bitten.
It's yours.
Is it
something.
mine?
Yeah, because everybody's.
Oh, you're right. Everybody but us is frozen.
Okay, what is happening?
they
I
can
can
hear us,
hear
but
you.
we're frozen. That's
okay.
why they couldn't see my hand up for a while.
Oh, okay. So should I continue or no?
Probably not.
They're frozen. We're
Now they're frozen.
I can hear Dallas. I can't hear anyone else.
No, I think we're hearing Alan.
But I
But
agree.
we can hear his laugh.
Well, a simple majority of us can appoint a chair because they're absent. They're absent right now.
I like that.
We've already moved on.
So wait a minute. So the folks who are meeting at the station basically got cut out.
There are technical issues.
It's anarchy at the police. No.
So since they started the meeting, does that mean we have to hang up and call back? Or
They should be able to reconnect.
How do we know what they're doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
oh, God, that's funny.
It's usually my computer cutting out, not theirs.
They could call in on their phone. But
Um,
yeah.
I'm sure they'll figure it out
They're
eventually.
probably having dinner. No, I'm gonna stop. I'm stopping.
Now is when they've decided to cater.
I believe we're still recording.
Welcome back, you guys.
Oh my God, that was funny. All right. Okay, are they back? Are you guys back?
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry about that. We lost connectivity.
So why don't you begin with your thoughts and go?
No, no worries. No worries. All right. So for instance, I use myself as an example. I travel a lot. So for instance, I was in UK. The time difference was way different, 8-hour difference. And I still made it to the meetings. I think I missed maybe one while I was there. And I think I communicated to chair that I wasn't going to be there. I feel like the vice chair and chair are going to do a wonderful job at vetting people and knowing who's going to show up or who's not going to show up. That's why I say the micromanagement doesn't need to come into play. The second thing is why are we putting expectations on ourselves that we can't put on the leadership above us? If we can't put this on Chief Skinner to be here, and as someone pointed out earlier, our work is stagnant because people aren't showing up. They're supposed to show up. So if we can't put this standard on the leadership who's supposed to be leading by example, then we shouldn't put it on ourselves. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I just want to point out that many people have talked about how we vet people. You guys make recommendations when you do vetting, but this commission does not get to appoint its own members. And there could be a point where you do not get the members that you want. I just want to make it clear that the commission does not get to pick who's on the commission and who is not on the commission, right? So I assume that this is only a recommendation to council. Council could look at your recommendation to remove someone and say, no, we want that person there because it is important for them to be there even though they have missed meetings. So it's not a for sure thing. That's one of the reasons why I'm okay supporting it, because it's not automatic, right? It's just a recommendation.
I'm gonna ask that Sean make his motion now. We need to move on. We can go. Everyone can keep on bringing things up. If the hands keep on going, we're gonna go ahead and move this. Sean, we're gonna do an up or down vote.
Thanks.
Who was the second?
So I have not made the motion yet. To make the motion, I move that we implement section 10 and add it to our bylaws. Do we have a second? Scott. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those against say nay.
Aye.
Looks like that passes with Dr. Booker and Silverio voting against. I'm not sure about everybody in the room.
Commissioner Shivers, I'm also a no.
Okay, and Jensina against. Excellent.
Right.
Excellent. So now
just a reminder, we have 15 minutes.
Yep, this section is the shortest. Section 5 in Article 5, I believe that is page 18. Let me double check. Yes, page 18. So section or Article 5, election of officers, section 2, just changing his/her to their to go in line with our gender affirming standards. Next section will be to add to Article 7, meetings, voting, and procedures, change meet at least 6 times a month to meet at least 8 times a month. We're already meeting 11 times a month, but I want to make that more in line with what we're doing anyway. And quorum shall, yeah, more in line, not completely, but, and then quorum shall consist of 50% plus 1 of current police commission membership for the transaction of official business. This is to eliminate a situation where we're missing 3-4 commissioners who haven't been appointed yet, and we are then falling behind quorum on every meeting and not able to do anything. And then Article 10, sections 1 and 2, changing his/her to their, once again, just bring us in line with gender affirming care. And I will move to implement all of these as a block unless there are any objections.
With no objections, I would love to second that.
Thank you, Scott. Everybody in favor say aye and or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I'm gonna
Seeing-
abstain.
Thank you, Silverio. And V, did you?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so you are an aye vote.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Thank you all. It's been a long process and I appreciate all of you greatly.
Thank you,
Now,
Commissioner
Dr.
Chambers.
Commissioner Booker, your hand is up.
Yes, I know,
Yeah.
I want to ask that we table this because I didn't get to go over the parts that I wanted to talk about, and I don't want to keep this lingering. So I'm gonna ask that we table the bylaws until the next meeting so I can go over the parts that I were concerned about.
With all due respect, Commissioner Booker, I feel like we've had a lot of time already to review this.
Yeah, I understand that. But sometimes things don't catch you until you read them several times. And it's something that caught my eye reading it several times that I don't agree with.
Can I just ask
Or
what
I would-
section?
Yeah, the part, let me see, what page? I would say, if you're gonna look at the page 7, I guess, of what you sent out, but it's also in the ordinance as well, when it talks about community values. I wasn't here, so I don't know if they took a poll to come up with these community values, but I'd like to know what are these values based off of and who came up with these values, because they were talking about recommending police policies reflecting community values. So how do we know what these values are and how do we identify them?
So to answer that briefly, we are how we answer that. This is saying that is one of the goals, purposes, and objectives, and it is left intentionally vague so that we as commissioners can advocate based on our opinions of what our community values. I think that's one of our primary responsibilities as commissioners, is to listen to the community and bring those values here.
But what community are we listening to? Like, where are they at? Who are these people? Where they come from? Are these a magical people? Like, who are we talking to when it comes to these policies that we're supposed to be implementing? I know we say we're supposed to be talking to the people, but I haven't had one person come up to me. Who do I go to?
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to know how we supposed to be representing the community if we don't know what these values are?
Silky, maybe you are the people. That's why the council appoints you all. Like, you're supposed to bring your values to this discussion. You don't have to talk to more people if you don't want to. You certainly can. But you are appointed because we want you to bring your values to this discussion.
Your experience.
I just think that needs to be said. I don't agree with the community values thing. That's just me. I don't understand that. I don't agree with that. And I understand what you're saying, bring my values, but my values might not be the same as yours.
Exactly, and that's the point. That's why we have so many people on this commission, because none of us have the same values, right?
Yeah,
But
but I
as
don't
a
represent the
team-
values of the whole Black community. I don't
But we also can't have 150,000 people on our commission, right? So that's why we rely on you all to come together and have thoughtful discussions with the values that you have. Also recognizing that not everyone is here at the table, and how do we bring that all together? And we're trusting you guys to do really important work, and that's why you're appointed, because we think you can do that.
So there's a lot of people
Bogart?
speaking out of line here, and I think we're all trying to, not all of us, but there's a lot of people answering questions to Dr. Booker. And I don't understand what he is, basically, that he's asking for us to do. I would like to know what you would have us do and what you would have us wait for.
I would
Because
just say that we take out that part.
This is one of the situations where I will tell you that you're being a person who's now having a lot of dissent, and a lot of people are speaking in dissent to you bringing your voice. And I want to know what you're saying. the reason why I wanted you to participate in this body was because I wanted to hear your point of view. And so I don't think we should be telling you and explaining to you, all these different things, speaking out of line. I think I would like to hear what you would like to wait for, and I would be willing to take a little extra time as well, just so we were both treading on that same path, walking on that same path.
So are you asking Dr. Booker a question?
Yeah, basically, what would you like us to wait for? And I would agree with you that a little more time would be fine, since it is bylaws. I wasn't at the last meeting as well, and I'm trying to get caught up. I've been a part of bylaw conversations for a while, so I felt that I was pretty caught up. But if you needed some extra time, I would be willing to step aside and say, let's go ahead and take that extra time.
So your question is what I want to change or take out?
No. What did you want to wait for?
Oh, that was it, to discuss removal of that reflecting community values piece. Because I understand we're supposed to bring ourselves and we're supposed to represent that value. That's not clarified. When you say recommend policies reflecting community values, and then you said, and then also balancing community priorities or provide input on police policies and procedures that reflect community values. So if are we reflecting on our own personal values? And was there a poll done to get these values? And I'm just saying, if that isn't clear, then take out the part of reflecting community values and just say reflecting each commissioner and what they bring to the table, what they bring to the commission.
Okay, let's hear some comments. Commissioner Lehman?
I was not intending to comment. If there's going to be a discussion, I was going to just bring up that we had a lot of ad hoc changes to the bylaws. It kind of does riff maybe with Dr. Booker with that it needs to come back at some point. I'm just saying this goes to the city council. And I would like to see before that happens, the kind of final version. Commissioner Shiver's been making these edits on the fly and stuff like that. And just before our body sends these up to the council, I'm asking that they be circulated to the commissioners. And I didn't mean to interrupt the discussion of Dr. Booker's point. Thank you.
Mr. Shivers?
Yeah. So yeah, I was editing and showing you the final document as I went. I just sent all of that to Holly. If we have future changes, I'm sure she will collate all of that. I will say that if we take out the section, if we take out D, then we are saying that we as a commission should not reflect community values, which we can argue about what community values means. I think that's one of the primary things we do here on the commission is advocate for communities, speak to communities. I mean, we're going to the Asian celebration, we're going to Pride in the Park. I know I personally go to neighborhood associations, to political party meetings, and tell them about what's going on in the city. So it is a little bit loose. It's not super enumerated, precisely because what we were talking before, your point that we don't want to baby every commissioner, right? We don't want to dictate to each commissioner what that means to them, but we do want the commission to reflect the community. So we can bring it back. I will not be voting for it, and I don't think we will gain anything more by discussing it more.
And just so we're on the same sheet of music, you do reflect a voice. You are a voice of the community. Hence, you had an Oregon Black Chamber of Commerce, regardless that was successful or not. You have done many meetings where you spoke, you've heard, you've listened, and hopefully those things that you have knowledge of, you're bringing to this table. That's what we want from everybody. So I understand where we might be, but I know what you are, and you do speak, and a lot of people do listen. So that's just my take. So my recommendation is this: if we can vote on this, you can vote on it, we take it out, or we keep it as it is, and we already know the answer. But I'm just saying that you do speak as a voice, and Councilor Ye, that was I agree in what you were saying. That the people is us. It's him. So that's kind of where we're at. So how are you gonna close this up, or how are we gonna address this? Rivers? Are you trying to conclude this now?
I was like, if you want to make a motion, by all means, I will vote against it, but I don't have anything else to say.
I'm not,
Hold on, we have Commissioner Lemon would like something to say.
yeah, I'm not too great on Robert's rules, but I would like to make a motion to call the question. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. I think it's just time to vote.
We don't have a motion to table this, right? Or we don't have a second on the motion to table this currently.
That's why I rely on you. Thank you.
Yeah. So does anybody second the motion? V seconds the motion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of tabling this until a future meeting, say aye or raise your hand.
Wait, tabling or voting for the motion?
The motion, as Dr. Booker enumerated it at the beginning, was to table this for a future meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
So 3, 4. All those against, say aye or raise your hand, or say nay or raise your hand. Nay.
Okay.
So this is not tabled, and we can move on.
So we're done with bylaws. Okay, so now I'd like to make a vote that we extend our meeting by 5 minutes so we have closing comments.
I second.
Thank you very much. All those agree, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Okay, I'll be quick as I can. Okay. Closing comments, Commissioner Hawkins.
Oh, I wasn't expecting to go first. I'm good, Chair Box.
Okay, Commissioner Dominguez.
I was just wondering why we don't see the city manager much, because they do seem to have the most amount of control. So I'd like to see that followed. I would like to follow that line.
And I have that down. Dr. Booker requests city manager's presence. I wrote that down.
Perfect.
Okay. Dr. Booker.
Nothing to add. I really enjoy this and like this. So let's keep it up. I like the whole difference of opinion. So I think it makes a powerful commission. So I love it. So just everybody keep up the good work, and I'm glad to know each and every one of you.
And so you too. Commissioner Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was kind of wondering throughout this meeting, what happened to Sergeant Smith? I don't recall you mentioning if, she has something else going on, or is she coming back next meeting? What's going on with our policy sergeant?
Marriage. Honeymoon.
Well, that's not exactly true. She did get engaged, but she is on vacation.
Yeah.
She's on vacation. So we hope to have her back here in September.
Okay.
Yeah. Love is in the air.
It's Twitter pated.
Commissioner Mogart.
Looking forward to meeting William Parham.
Yep.
And see you guys in September.
See you in September. You have a great break. Commissioner Shivers.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody going through all this once again. I also would love to, so every other year we have the bylaws retreat, every other year we have the work plan retreat. I would love to have a bylaws retreat on alternating years, because this whole process has sort of proved to me that we need it. We got a lot of interested people. We got a lot of complexity here. So I would love to put that on the chair and vice chair going forward, hopefully. So we can bring those stuff up. And I think the last time these ones were looked at is like 6, 7, maybe more years ago. So it's been far too long. And I think that's part of why this process took so long and was so difficult. And just as a clarification, these bylaws are implemented now, so Will's absence at this meeting, already excused, is not part of the new bylaws.
Councilor Ye?
Yeah, I don't have anything. I just might maybe clarify something that Bonnie said. Technically, the city manager is Chief Skinner's supervisor, but I wouldn't say she has more control. I don't know if that's the way I would put it. I think we get a lot more better, more accurate information from our chief than we would from the city manager, although I totally think it would be good for her to come here and talk to us. I just don't want you to, I don't want the impression that she's like in it, like making decisions and at EPD, because I don't believe that's accurate.
Thank you.
If that makes sense.
Commissioner Lemons?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to big shout out and thank you to Commissioner Shivers. Huge poll, very important. Really appreciate what you did. Certainly want to reiterate, I would love to have the city manager here and absolutely ensure that a representative from EPD is here. I understand and honestly would not mind seeing a change in the power dynamics between the city manager and EPD, but as it is right now, city manager is above Chief Skinner, but does not get to make any decisions for Chief Skinner. So would very much like to pry into that a little bit. I also wanted to extend a thank you to Mr. Fitzgerald, and I'm sorry if I got your name wrong there. Thank you for being here and representing the union. I hope you continue to show up because I fully intend on drilling down a little more on the union's role and how that plays in. And I really appreciate every single one of y'all for this passionate discussion and how much we all care about this. Even if we respectfully disagree, this is really important. And I just appreciate every single one of you. And I look forward to our next meeting. Thank you.
Commissioner Lightman?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm just I know it's the end of the night and I'm going to be really quick. The way that last vote on that last motion to table went, I was confused because Commissioner Booker was asked, is it just to make that change? And he answered, yes, it's just to make that change. So I'm confused as to why he didn't move for a substantive up or down vote on the change that he was proposing. It was to table, but we could have absolutely substantively addressed what he was asking us to. And so all I'm going to say in my closing comment for him and to everyone is that you can bring a motion to change the bylaws anytime you're a commissioner. So, if you want to reason that, we didn't table it, but I was uncomfortable with the way that went. Otherwise, I want to say thank you, everyone. It was a spirited meeting. And I appreciate everyone indulging and listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. I don't think we have any more hands. Then I'm last. I have on my notes to you that me and Holly will be sharing your thoughts on attendance with the chief, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I have a quarterly meeting with Sarah Maderi, who's the city manager, and I will share your thoughts. That was brought up by many of you, but it was brought to forefront with Dr. Booker.
And the mayor too. We meet with the
Yeah, and we all, and also meet the mayor, but to the point is this. If we are not here, if we are not talking, things that bug you, things that you are upset with, I would not hear or know where you're at if you're not vocal. This meeting, in my opinion, is the type of vocalness that we need, that the people of Eugene expect from you. And you represent your own block. May it be the person next door, may it be your church, may it be whatever community you maybe represent, may it be a little neighborhood, maybe it be your work, maybe it be your people, maybe it be your gender. Regardless what it is, our expectation is for you to fuel your tank with all the information and concerns of basically your own block of constituents and bring it to the table. My responsibility is to find those speakers with information that you've given me that can best make Eugene a better place. That's it. It's not left or right. It's right down the middle. We have to figure out a way. And I thank you for your participation. And I thank you for your time. Meeting is adjourned.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Lehman.